Hi everyone, I'm back from Amsterdam, back from the STRAAT Museum. We're ready for another STRAAT Talks, and it's no one less than Nomad clan this time. And we're actually going to do two locations for the first time. Hi Carlos, nice to meet you, nice to see you. We're actually going to do it from two different locations. One of the artists is based in Manchester right now, and the other one is calling in from the United States. I already did a test run with them, and I know that they will arrive soon. It's how it always goes. I'm going to do a live interview with them. If you want to ask any questions, just let me know. There's actually a question mark in the lower part of the screen. Just type in your question there. It will be easier for us to focus on each question separately. I'm really looking forward to have a chat with them. It hasn't been so long ago that I met them. They were actually painting at a festival in Rotterdam last summer. I see one of them is online. This takes a little bit of an effort. I don't know, I don't see the request anymore. Can you do it again, Jay? Hi, Nick.
Hello.
Technology these days. Just give us a moment, please. Could you do the request again? Also don't see Haley. They painted the painting in the back, that one. There's a funny story to it, actually. It's a 9 by 5 meter canvas. Sup? Yeah, I'm doing well. Okay, you're not able to join. Yo. There's a little bit of a technology. Right. I don't see them yet. Mm-hmm. 1 second. There you go.
Hi. That was
Hi.
confusing. Oh my God.
Woo-hoo.
There was a real delay there as well. I could see myself afterwards just stuck in like some weird, I don't
Oh,
know.
really? I didn't even see you online.
That maybe only I could see me
Right.
online. Some glitch in the
Right.
matrix.
We tried before for the people at home. Jay, where are you right now?
I am in Yorkshire, West Yorkshire at the moment in my little home studio situation.
Right.
Yeah,
Okay.
ready for some Nomad gigs that are happening very, very soon. So I'm
Much
sticking
res-
around in the bleak-ish weather of the UK.
Hello.
There you are. Okay, so hi both. Welcome live in STRAAT. I'm going to try to show your work a little bit more. Can you see it?
Yep.
Right, perfect. Yeah, so very exciting to have this chat with you too. I was just doing a small introduction about the last time I saw you, that you're with the two of you, that there's a funny story about this work and the preparations of this work, something that we tried in Antwerp. I don't know, I think there's a lot to discuss with the three of us. Just a small introduction. We started with Jay and Haley joined us. Where are you right now, Haley?
I'm in Manchester.
Manchester. At home.
Yeah,
Right.
back at home for a while. Not for
Right.
long
Right.
though. Not for long.
No, because what's going to happen? What's cooking?
We've got a few projects coming up. We've got one in Germany. We've got one in Texas. There's a Sweden job. Just bouncing again. But like we've took it quite easy this beginning, the beginning of the year. We've kind of been working in the studio and kind of getting some personal work done, Nomad clan collaborations, and like, where did you go?
It's kicking me off. It doesn't want me involved.
I'm sorry, I wasn't even listening. I was like, oh my God, where did Jay go? Okay, yeah, sorry. Yeah, just a little bit of a confusion start, but a lot of things are going to happen. Now you can also join because we were already talking about like near future projects.
I have a technology curse on me, so let's just be prepared for the worst at all moments
Okay,
right now.
right. That's all fine. Yeah, no, well, okay. We're here and we're live and things like this happen. Last time I did a STRAAT talks with Michelle Hoogveld and we didn't really realize that the connection was terrible for 25 minutes and it just seemed like she was like talking like a robot, so we had to do the whole STRAAT talks again. So in that way, this is going perfectly. Already?
You jinxed it. Jay's gone again.
That's so strange. That's so strange. I
Well,
totally
I could tell my side of the story then.
Yeah,
Basically,
that's
we've not really done much apart from studio work, but it's been nice to get back into the studio because we never had time pre-COVID for any of that. We were just saying yes to everything and flying here, there, and everywhere a million miles an hour. So
right.
it's been nice to get in the studio and kind of get back to our roots again, you know. So we've been doing that with our own stuff and with Nomad Clan stuff.
Yeah.
But it's back to back murals as of next week until
Really?
pretty much the end of the year, yeah. So we're trying to slow it down, but we can't resist. We can't resist.
No, that's good. Okay. It's annoying. I can imagine it's annoying for you. We'll just try and every now and then you will I'm not going to jinx anything, but maybe it can happen again and just join the talk again and it will be fine. So let's just go back to the start. Like what I always ask to the artists I'm talking with, like how did it start? How did you become an artist, or what was like the first creative inspiration that made you become an artist later?
Fast,
Well,
before we disappear again.
I'm scared. I'm under pressure now. I'm like, how can I condense this as quickly as possible before I get booted out? Art was always a thing that I did as a kid, I guess. So it was something. It's saying invitation expired, so any minute now I'm gonna be gone. So I might have to press the button. But as a kid, yeah, it just
time with you.
yeah, enjoy it while you can.
Yeah.
I'll be gone in a flash.
Well, I know the story, so I could just tell it for you.
You can tell it. I'll just like send it telepathically.
It's
And
fine.
you can...
No, just talk about like really talk about like the question, and we'll see like if you manage to answer it before you're gone again.
Yeah. Okay. So art always resonated with me. It was always my way of, I guess, communicating. I didn't realize that at the time as a kid. Obviously, I was just doing it sort of impulsively. But it was just something that I would escape into. You know, get lost in and explore stuff. I guess it was what I was choosing to do with my time. And so I made the mistake of trying to find my way in life through varying things academically, and it just didn't. Nothing clicked. I just couldn't sit with anything and get, you know, like really get into anything. I was kind of just always off in my head.
Right.
And so at some point along the way, I discovered street art, but it was like this beautiful, rebellious, free movement that just blew my mind. And it was like all of the freedom that I wanted for myself that I couldn't find creatively. you know, as a career or a profession or anything like that. And I didn't even think that it was something that people could do and exist, you know. It was
Right.
like almost like something secondary to something else, or it was
Yeah.
just these crazy magical things that were appearing. And I managed to get my hands on some books or something at some point, and I went to an exhibition in Manchester called Ill Communications, which had like a swoon in it, and it had
Nice.
Face. So there was all kinds of like really massive artists, and it took over what is now this horrible football museum. No offense to people who like football. I'm looking at you
No,
guys.
none taken. It's fine.
But yeah, it was like an urban arts I guess exhibition space. It was like a bit alternative called Ibis or something. Urbis.
Right.
Um, and I was just like mind blown because I'd never seen this stuff anywhere other than on the streets. It was like, and I'd never seen international names like that, you know, come to somewhere and do an exhibition. So
Right.
I think it was probably my sister that dragged me in there because she was in art college at the time and was like wanting to go and see this stuff. Um,
And how old were you? Like what was like at what age did you find out about street art?
Probably about 19,
Right.
maybe a bit younger. I don't know. Like, I mean, I was aware of it, but it never connected in a way like when I saw that was like, wow, I'd never seen anything done in such a crazy way. You know, it was installations, it was massive pieces and big, like there was like a big, almost video installation as well of a guy just
Mm.
like painting a van over and over and over, and it was more like graph-based stuff, but it was immersive and it just blew my mind. And suddenly it opened my head up to this idea that, well, people are doing this and they're traveling, and I hadn't done really any traveling at all outside of the UK, so it was like, hold up, there might be a place for me, you know. And so I started out doing little bits of stencils, and they were terrible, and they were really like just basic,
You had to start
like
somewhere, right?
right,
So you started with
yeah. I
with
loved it.
stencils.
Give me a little rush.
Yeah.
um, but you know, it was just a way of learning that medium as well, learning spray paint, and I very quickly got into it in a way that I was like trying it out on canvases too, and then I luckily very strangely managed to. I was holding down jobs, varying jobs, and people were sort of enjoying these little stencil canvases I was doing,
Mm.
and was like, right, I'm going to try and get some of these hung somewhere or in something. And at some point, I put it in to Druitt's art auction and managed to sell a canvas or two, which was, but I was
That
like, it was alongside Banksy, and I was like, you know, there was all these names. So again, for me, it was just like, there's some hope. But I was also holding down like a job as a youth worker, and I was
right.
starting to, by
That's
choice, bring spray paint in. So that was kind of how it just evolved
yeah,
in that aspect.
perfect. Well, that's a good start. How did it start for you, Haley? Do you
Well, I can't say I ever set out to be a street artist. I didn't even know this was a thing. Do you know what I mean? Like, I didn't know you
yeah,
could have a career doing it. And it's just, I feel like naturally evolved. It's just kind of been my natural path into this world. You know, I didn't like go out looking for it. I didn't think the first time I ever painted a piece of scrappy lettering that I'd be doing this and getting paid for it. You know, it all kind of came quite naturally. I first started painting though really badly letters when I was at university. And it was
really?
a friend of
Okay.
mine on my course who kind of took me down these tunnels and was like, oh, you know, showing me like the ways and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But I didn't really start taking it that seriously. And I did it on the side as a bit of a hobby, like more kind of graph and lettering. I wasn't very good at it. I was a bit nervy. I didn't like to like scope out spots. I was lazy. So I just did it in like really quiet, like easy to paint places. You know, I wasn't like prolific or anything. It was just I enjoyed painting.
Right.
And then,
But you did it in the streets and not in the studio.
yeah, first off,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then I ended up quitting my job in because it was up in Middlesbrough that I went to university. I quit my job and I moved back to Manchester, my hometown, and I couldn't find any work within. I was working as a designer, and I was like, what can I do to kind of keep going? And I reverted back to this hobby that I had. So I opened up a paint shop, a little small kind of paint shop in Manchester city centre, and I was selling spray paint and all sorts of stuff, t-shirts, other people's artwork and things. And that was always supposed to be like a stopgap until I got a proper job, so to speak. But it just got bigger and bigger, and like kind of grew. I employed people, and then me and Jay met, and you were buying paint off me. We've been to a few gigs and stuff along the way, haven't we? And from having the shop, I was getting bigger and bigger commissions, you know, for like bars and restaurants and varying other things. And then I got this commission for a large wall in Manchester's gay village, and I was like, okay, what other gayers do I know on the scene that might be interested in painting this mural with me? And Jay sprung to mind. So that's how we did our first big job together, was painting the gayest mural you'll ever have seen in Manchester city centre. It's just rainbows and drag queens. It's amazing, and it's still there. It's still there now. It's not painted as Nomad Clan, obviously, because we weren't Nomad Clan yet. We were painting separately. We were actually painting in a crew that we had, like, called Tits and Tampons, which was an all-girl crew that we kind of set up, wasn't it? Like back then, and it was just full of rumans, like who used to get up to naughty painting and whatnot, and we just used to go around and paint tits and tampons everywhere.
Really?
And it didn't last very long, but like when me and Jay started working together, it was like, look, we want to do this like as a career. We can see where it can go, you know. And you know, we were inspired by other people we were seeing doing these huge murals and these big commissions and traveling the world and stuff. And the other girls in the crew, they weren't really interested in any of that. They just wanted to go and paint trains and destroy things, which is fine. Like, each your own, you know.
Yeah.
But I was like, I'm getting on a bit. I need to make some money. I need a career. Like, so we started doing it normally, but we obviously couldn't get hired under the name of Tits and Tampons. It's not really hireable, so we came up with Nomad Clan. Right. And the rest is history. Like, so
that's so funny. That's so funny that like that commissioned job to paint a mural in the gay neighborhood of Manchester was like the start of Nomad Clan.
Yeah.
It pretty much was. It pretty much was.
And
first time on a scissor lift, first time on a mural, bigger than you can reach from the ground. So
how was that? Because like if I go back to the story of Jay, you mentioned you painted stencils, so I can imagine they were like small sized stencils, and you were just painting like in the streets, but like in quiet neighborhoods or whatever, where nobody would disturb you or would even see that you were painting, and then just popping up like a mural somewhere open in public in Manchester. How was that?
There was a lot of steps in between the stencils.
Yeah.
Like I'm not like, I wasn't just gifted with it. Right. You know, like I had to do lots of. So I was doing a lot of solo work. I was based in Leeds, and one of the reasons me and Hayley met really is because we were both painting on the scene individually initially. Hayley as Halo and myself as C Blocks, and I was running events and doing stuff in Leeds with other artists that were out there holding jams, paint jams, stuff like that. Hayley was doing the same thing in Manchester, and I guess like, you know, I was doing a lot of like muralism, but albeit not giant walls, but you know,
right? Okay,
walls,
you were already.
Walls, yeah. And I was going out painting with the graph guys. I was always the person who'd jump on and do a portrait or a character or whatever, and I was doing that in Leeds for quite some time, you know. So it got to the point where Hayley kind of drafted me in because there was going to be about 5 or 6 portraits on this wall, and at the time it was a massive undertaking, and I was fucking terrified, if I'm honest. It was like, what, like how many on one wall? I knew that And
Didn't know the design, if you remember. We didn't know the design. We had to go to like a meeting. The community kind of designed it for us.
Yeah, but
Do you remember?
we knew you know, it's one of those things. It's like there's going to be some famous gays on there. It's Manchester after all, you know. It's like, and I guess like when it all started coming together, it was one of those moments of you've just got to do it, haven't you? And like I've always been one to like want to get outside of my comfort zone anyway. And we both had a lot of ambition. I think that was one of the things that really drew us together. You know, Hayley was running a spray paint shop. It was one of the only female, you know, spray paint shop owners or whatever in the UK at the time. I think there was maybe the one in Leicester as well. There was a spray paint shop down there. But like, it was one of them where it's just like, there's this badass lass who's doing this stuff. And then, but it's one of those that you get addicted to painting, I think, and you sort of start to strive. And Hayley's one of them that's like, she's always wanting to go bigger and, you know, do more. And I was the same. So that energy, the two combined energies was just like, right, we've got to do it. It doesn't matter how scared we are of something, we'll throw ourselves at it. And we've had to work really hard to we've had to do that to get the attention that we've got, I guess.
Right.
In some respect.
Well, thanks for the clarification. We're a couple of steps
from stencil to giant mural.
right. Yeah.
And some people do it.
No, that's true. But not really. I mean, I do freehand, so it's like it really, you know, how do you get from that to that? It took a lot of practice, I guess.
Yeah, of course. So, what time frame are we talking about? What's the year that Nomad Clan, just a cannon, yeah. What's the year that Nomad Clan was funded?
Wow. I don't know. It's all a blur. To be honest,
it was an easy question.
I think it's been about 8-9 years, isn't it? Because we were painting for a while as TNT, Tits and Tampons, and then so it kind of like there was a lot of overlapping.
Right.
I think it's 8 or 9 years,
okay.
and I get lost now that there was this like COVID blip as well. Like that feels like that was just like 1 year ago.
Feels like 15 years to me.
16, right? Well, you painted this one. I didn't even check. That's 2017 or
2017.
17, yeah, that'd be right.
We'll have been painting a good few years before then, surely.
Right.
Yeah.
Easily. Yeah. And how did you, because I can imagine like you had your own style and you still have, and how did that collide together as Nomad Clan? Was that an easy thing or did it take time?
It took time. It really grew. Yeah, it really sort of developed over the time, because like initially Hayley did a lot more sort of lettering and really bold graphical characters that were sort of very almost like, how would you describe it? Like boogie-esque vibes. Like
block colours and clean lines, wasn't it? There's none of this fading and shading and stuff.
Yeah.
And if I did, it was like just to add a little bit of flair to my really boring letters that I was painting. But like,
and I guess
do you still have examples like around Hayley that you, I don't know, like I didn't ask you to prepare anything, but do you have something around that can show like the style that you had before?
Not here. No, if I would have been at my studio, yeah. But I literally left because my internet's appalling there. So I thought I'll come home. So, but I've just recently moved everything out of my house because my house was just becoming an extended studio. There wasn't a room in it without some rubbish. But there is a book called All City Queens, which has one of our very early collab pieces in it. We weren't Nomad Clan then. Do you remember it?
No, I don't have it. No, I thought like maybe if you can show it to us, that would be nice. But it's something for maybe.
Give me a second. I'll go and see if I can find some. Jay, entertain.
Uh-huh.
So, what about your style? So it was like.
Well, I guess like yeah, it's been fairly consistent from the start. So I'd say like maybe where you see Nomad now, it's
Mm.
like a slightly less, like slightly more amateur version of what it is. That's where I came from. So I did I did like I practiced quite a bit of realism style stuff. It was never fully realism, but it was always character based, and there was always that element in there. So I was
Right.
always just drawn to faces, portraits, characters, weird stuff, basically.
Well, I was going to ask like what inspired you in the style that you're painting? Uh,
Oh,
Perfect. Yeah, because like uh, it's quite
Found it.
dark, or I'm not sure like how to describe it, but it's quite dark. It's quite
yeah. I think
poetry. I don't know.
yeah, it's very emotive, I guess. Like it comes from here for me often. I guess there's a lot of artists that maybe they're stylistically were influential
Mm.
at times. So like, I guess I remember discovering Etam Crew and wanting to basically quit art immediately because I didn't think anything would ever be as good. uh,
Right.
and so, but like stylistically, there's things like that to nod to, but it was always more on the spectrum of like I remember seeing Faith 47's work and stuff like
Mm.
that, and just being like, this is amazing, right?
Yeah.
But so, likewise, Terracoota. I think anyone who really their art, you can see them in their art.
Right.
They really like that because I think you have to be authentic. I think if you're emulating something, it's really obvious, and it's
Yeah.
you can see through that sometimes. So for me, it starts with things that I'm drawn to, and I've always been a bit of a depressed goth at heart. And now my work's not so much just sat within that because I'm
Mm.
happier, but there's the thing is like it's part of me and it's intrinsically there. So you can look back to even way back to C
Right.
Box days and
Right.
see these elements. So it's almost like a metamorphosis. I just keep like developing and growing from. But I never get that far removed from self because it's nearly impossible
Yeah.
without like, you know,
Yeah.
trying to copy somebody else entirely or something.
I see. Yeah, well, yeah, I do see that back in works of like different artists that you see like a little bit of their
Oh
personality
yeah.
and their story and their vibes, like
Yeah.
the
That's what
feelings
makes
that they
it
have.
cool. That's what it's fun because
Yeah,
especially when you know the artist as well, it's like, oh, that's such a them thing to do.
yeah,
It's
yeah,
cool.
for sure. Yeah, thanks. So, and did you find something in the book?
I found our first ever piece, but this was before the gay mural. This was the first one that we
Oh,
collaborated on.
really?
Oh god.
That when I was
Show
doing
us.
letters, like I'm.
Oh. Oh, wow. Oh my God, that's a real flow. So that's
What?
meant to be this crazy Coronation Street woman of all
Brilliant.
of the pieces.
Wow.
Well, that was our first. There's this one as well. Jay, you've always been dark as fuck. Look at this. Merry Christmas, everyone.
Oh yeah, that was in Manchester Northern Quarter.
Wow. Yeah,
There's
yeah,
that
that's
teenage angst
dark.
apparently that just is there. I don't know.
There was.
No, so okay, but
I
it's
was
not.
hoping I could. Oh, there. Oh, it is. There we go. Look, our first Nomad
Yeah,
clan.
that was still pretty cool. There's some crazy shit going
Wait,
on.
that's what I
It's pretty big, though, isn't
Yeah.
it?
is it also
And
Like,
we
with
decided to take the entire wall. It's a legal wall, and we were like, let's just see how big we can go. And then I think that set some ball in motion. Then it's like
Haley?
bigger, bigger.
Haley, is that also with some Dutch artist?
this one?
Yeah, it looks like it's Popeye from Holland.
No, I don't think so. No, not on that. Ruby was one of the girls that we painted with.
Okay, right.
No.
Well, okay. So and then you became Nomad Clan, and
Mhm.
obviously, like it's more like already like the style that Jay was painting. And how did that just collide? Like I can imagine it was like first like what I saw there was like separate images sort of together.
Mm.
But right now it's like it's
But I think
one style.
in the beginning of Nomad Clan, our work was more illustrative. It was more like book illustrations that were kind of like if you look at them, the more like drawings rather than like the hyperrealism.
Mm.
And I think over time it just kind of evolved that way. I was getting very bored of painting block letters and the tidy lines and the neatness. I wanted to be more free and do more like just expand really. I used to draw more like that. I just didn't paint like that. Like before I even started with the letters, playing around with letters and stuff, and these clean shapes with spray paint. My drawings way back from being a kid were more realistic, like pencil sketches of
Really?
realism and stuff.
Okay.
I used to draw like that, but then I don't know. I never really thought I could see that on the streets because the way I started, it wasn't with someone doing realism. It was with someone doing lettering and clean lines and all the things that they kind of respected as like good and impressive was tightness, flow, like all of these things that I was like the first person who took me out painting. That's what they were showing me, you know.
Right.
So I kind of tailored my work to that at that point, but I never really saw it as work. It was all play at that point. It wasn't serious. It was about going out and fun, and it was the process that I enjoyed. It was the finding little hidden places and painting. It wasn't about creating a masterpiece as such. It was more about the just doing and enjoying it.
Yeah.
And I struggle with ADHD, and art is one of the things that just shuts my brain off and allows me to focus for a period of time. So I think it was a therapy for me, like calm my brain a lot when I was younger and I didn't have a grasp of it. I didn't even know what it was back then, you know. I just thought, God, I've got a crazy brain that never shuts off. But unless I'm painting or drawing so that it was my therapy, and I think that's probably one of the reasons why I've just stuck at it for so long. You know, It's like I've just stuck with it because it works for me, it calms me down, and like chills me out.
Yeah. Well,
It's enough of the ADHD.
That's very important, of course, for painting and for being an artist. But that's the beautiful side of it. But is it also like already from the start, like the way you can make your money, like how you can make a living? Is that also like from the beginning of Nomad Clan the case that you were just
No.
No.
It took a while.
Yeah.
You know,
it took a while,
it's
right?
like it's like anything else, but I think it's safe to say that it wasn't born of a desire to make lots of money. It wasn't something like that. It was like, you know, it's like what Haley was saying about how she was painting letters and, you know, certain style for fun. I was painting the stuff that I was painting for fun and for exploration. And I think when we started doing more of it, doing it together, we started having conversations like, wouldn't this be great to just be able to do this all the time and make it work? And it's almost like when we were painting at the wall, it started to become like planning sessions while we were painting. You know, we would be talking about what could we do, and then weird shit started to happen. So like, for example, you know, it was born of passion. So this is something I would say to any young artist who was wanting to get involved. We were choosing to go down like Salford Canal to paint, for example, like what I was just showing you there. And we'd be like painting away, and we'd just keep coming down and owning that wall. And it you know, it didn't get like massive amounts of attention, but one time we were down there and someone happened to be running past, and she worked for a property developing company and was like, had no idea where to find, you know, a street artist that could paint big walls. So suddenly it was like getting our details and stuff, and it was like, okay, this is interesting. Me and Haley didn't think we'd see anything of this person again. You know, she was like all healthy, energetic, doing a thing, like businesswoman and whatever. And we were like, you know, we'd just been having the piss around the corner, down the back of a van or whatever, and like drinking beer. And it was like probably Tuesday at 2 p.m. You know what I mean? Like no idea. Next thing you know, we're getting an email, you know, we're getting a contact thing to come and have a chat with her about an opportunity for a wall in Liverpool, and she was looking for a big wall, and well, she got a big wall, sorry, but she was looking for artists who could paint one, and we somehow managed, but through having the Gay Village wall, which we didn't get paid for, that was like we volunteered our time. It was like more of a community project. We didn't do the design. It was the community that designed it. We just had to replicate it vibe. So, but it worked for us because we didn't get paid, but we suddenly had something that said, we can paint on a scissor lift. And that's all it fucking took at the time, because in the north there was nobody else doing it, right? So we were like, we didn't care what happened, how we would get trapped in this scenario.
It was terrible.
Were like, we're doing it. We're doing it. I'm passing the baton now, Hayley. You can continue this one because it's hilarious.
I'm actually surprised we ever carried on painting large walls after that experience. So to start it all off,
what happened?
To start it off, we turned up for what we thought was going to be like a 2-story wall. It's a 7-story building, right? So we were like, okay, nice one. But we had no idea about a price for this. We didn't even know how much a scissor lift was. We didn't know how much paint we were going to need or nothing. So we gave them a quote and they were like, yeah, that's fine. Anyway, like 2 days before we were supposed to start, they halved the budget. Now, the budget already didn't pay for any half the stuff because we didn't know what we were doing. So so we was like, well, we can't afford a hotel. Like, this is literally, we're going to do this for nothing, but we need a big wall in our portfolio to show people. You know, like, so we said to the building, they're redoing this old building up. So there was half of it had no windows in. There was no electrics. There was like a disabled toilet. That was the only thing that was working in this building. And we was like, can we just sleep rough in your building while we paint this wall? Like, we were broke. We were so skint. And they were like, yeah, if you want, like, you weirdos. So they put the electric on, if you remember, but the electric was on, like, every time you moved, the lights all turned on. So at night, if you turned over, you were sleeping. It looked like a car park. Like, that we were sleeping in. It was horrible. We took an inflatable, like, bed that we slept on and a microwave that we found in the builder's office. And that's what we had. That's what we had for 2 weeks. It took us 2 weeks to paint this wall. It was freezing. It was November. I got so sick. It was the worst thing ever, wasn't it? And, like...
I've got to add this because this is one of my favourite things as well. You know Fair Street Art Atlas, right?
Yeah.
So we'd met her on the scene and we were like, would you be interested in coming up and photographing this mural we're doing? Because, like, we need to make something of it and we really love, but we haven't got hardly any money at all on this gig. Would you do it? She was like, all right, yeah, I'll come. She turns up and she's not got a sleeping bag, nothing. So she steals a builder's jacket that she finds on some floor. I don't even know where she found it. And she wrapped herself up in a roll of what was something that she found, but it turned out eventually that it was fiberglass, which is like an insulation stuff. But it's that, like, you know, it's dead scratchy and itchy and horrible. Was sleeping in that and coming out and taking pictures of us. It was more like a survival. It was a traumatic experience, but we finally had something that was our sort of more in our style. You know, it wasn't like prescribed by someone like the Gay Village one was. This was like, oh, we got to do it in a Nomad Clan way, but we also had to kind of work to a bit of a brief. But we finally had something that was making people go, oh god, this is different. It looked kind of like somewhere between Weird Crew. It is a bit different. It's got the realism elements, but it's more playful. We were still doing, like, you know, characters with weird elongated bits and bobs and, like, warped stuff, you know, that sort of playful graffiti character vibe with that realism twist. So, but it's massive. It's still there. It's still there in Liverpool. It still gets photographs taken of it, but I'd say that's probably our very, very first giant wall.
Wow. And it's both a terrible traumatic story and a beautiful one, right?
Yeah.
No, but it shows so much dedication, and it shows. I think that must be like a very strong base of you two as Nomad Clan, right? Like
Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
We
to
had,
We've
like
done some horrendous,
we had our
stupid
vision.
things to get walls
right,
painted,
like
haven't
it
we?
showed
We had
like you had real clear motivation to get it done. Like if you're sleeping in sort of like a parking garage with a microwave that you found or whatever, it's crazy. I've never heard a story like this before. When I asked like an artist, like, how did it start?
the, this
Nothing
is
like
it,
that.
man. These are some of the best. These are some of my best memories of it because back
Yeah,
then, when we were younger, it was like it was all about can we do this? Can we get away with this? Can we try this out? How far can we take this? You know, and there was just that energy of like let's let's give it a go anyway. Let's see what happens. And
mm.
we'd come out each time. Would come out on top with scars, most likely. But it was like, wow, how much further can we take this? And I think like sometimes I wonder, like, really, like even the woman came down in her like
Soft
mini
top
coupe
Mercedes.
crop top with a big flowing hair, like, and she was like, "Oh, the things you do for your art," and we were like, "Pay us." Put us in a hotel or something, please. We're dying here. It's not fun anymore. I can't wash my
Right.
hair and dry it with a paper towel for another day. Like, this is insanity. It was like miserable, but it was something that you would never forget. You know what I mean? Like, just an
Yeah.
experience. 2 weeks as well. We did it for 2 weeks.
I think that's how we got faster at painting. We were like, that's never happened. We're never doing a 2-week job again, ever.
Yeah,
Like,
and
It's
and
true.
I hope you also learned from like making a budget and like realistic prices.
well, to
Yeah,
be honest,
no,
it
we
wouldn't have
got
made a
out.
difference with it. It wouldn't have made a difference with these guys. They just didn't want to pay us. Like, they basically covered the paint and lift in the end of it. But oh gosh, I'm
Oh,
glad we did it
we got
though.
the pen. We got sponsored by Cobra. Well,
Oh
this is the other thing we were
yeah,
really forward thinking. So we were good. We were pretty good at like figuring things out. We had a lot of time to plan stuff. So Haley's a bit of a mastermind too, and I'd be like, we'd talk something through, and I'd be like, I'll compose an email that sounds amazing, and then it would be like, and then we'd be like, I think it's happening. I think they're going to get behind it. They're going to give it. And before we knew it, it was like building the foundations of something, of a
Right.
confidence and a vision that we could just start hammering at. And each time we won, you know, each time we had a small win, it gave us the confidence to do more. So it was like a snowball effect. And I think we managed to achieve so much. And actually, when you look at the
Crazy.
years, in a short amount of time, like some people are painting for, you know, have been painting for much longer than that. And it's like, I think teaming up and just nearly
Yeah.
killing ourselves to get there with it.
Yeah, no, I think it's a very inspiring sort of start from Nomad Clan. And
Yeah.
like to take us back to like your first disaster, but also something very beautiful. Because like while we're talking, I'm also thinking about like the different murals that you made, like that are popping up in my mind. You painted a really big one in Leeds, I remember, right? Like
yeah.
a really big one next to the
But
central station there.
yeah,
Yeah.
47 meters that. I mean, that
That's
was a really big
crazy.
one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We didn't sleep in the building or in a car park for that one.
Not this time, no.
We'd
Thank
worked out a
God.
budget and we got a hotel. but
Right.
um, but I think every mural, every job that you do, there's always a story that goes with it, you know, that's memorable. And like nothing ever runs like you imagine, like you'd love it to, you know, like you have all your paint ready and everything goes perfect. There's always something. But I think the thing that we've got really good at is being able to think on our feet and work around problems and being self-sufficient. And it's
Mm.
helped us loads when, say, we go and we paint at festivals and stuff. Like, we don't need people to be running around for us. We always kind of figure it out, you know, and it's easier for us and it works out quicker that way, and it stops people, you know, organising these things because they've got a lot, you know, to do other than,
Yeah.
you know, look after us. And I think, like, advice, like you said, like you were giving advice before, I think advice for artists is like be as self-sufficient and, you know, make sure you can fix your own problems. It just makes everything so much easier in the long run.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Mm.
Definitely.
Be.
So and of course you have each other? Is there like a clear role of task, like for the two of you? Like, Haley say yes, but it obviously works. But you learn from making a budget, so yeah, you became better in.
Yeah, yeah.
Who's doing this, for example?
Oh,
It's
yeah,
very balanced.
Oh, yeah.
yeah,
Very balanced.
Okay.
yeah. We mix it up every now and again. But like as well, 'cause when we have like we kind of stack projects back to back, don't we? So you'll take one and I'll take another, and like
Right.
it's easy. We trust each other. We've worked with each other now for that long that we know what each other's going to be doing. You know, we know it inside out. But I do think like when I like painting in a duo. I like painting with other people because you just have that person there who's got your back. You know, and you know artists. You lose yourself when you're painting. You know you're in it, and like sometimes it's really easy to step over that line that makes where you're just like, oh my God, what's going on? What am I doing? Like, and it's nice to have someone else to be like, what are you talking about? It looks all right. Like, so,
Yeah.
but you could go under. You can go, and like, so that's one good thing about painting in a duo. But also, it's that sharing all these crazy stories with someone. You know.
Yeah.
It wouldn't be half as fun if you were just doing it on your own, I don't think. And I think it's quite a lonely existence for some people who travel everywhere and living in a hotel on your own, painting a wall on your own.
Yeah.
You know, I'm glad we get to do it together.
Yeah. Well, I was going to ask like what makes you so strong as a duo, but I think you already answered that in a beautiful way. No, because like I do think for a lot of artists it can be very lonely
Yeah.
to just travel around. So I can imagine like it's like a lot of joy and fun to be painting at a festival, but because at least you will be sharing like experiences with other artists, or you can just paint in a duo like you two do.
Yeah,
And
I
just
share it all the time.
yeah. So like I just thought of I mentioned the one in Leeds, but of course like what's also a bit of the start of our story was like that we met each other at Upfest in Bristol.
Yeah.
Were you painting the big one back then?
Were we painting the train? Was it the year we painted the train that we met you first? The big one was the last year that we did it.
I feel like the first time was when we were doing the fisherman and the octopus on the bookstore.
Yeah.
I feel like we had
Right.
you might not remember because I feel like we had a few drinks and just got chatty, and then it was like Lisa Simpson wall thing that
that's
I think we
later.
got some. Yeah.
I think you already painted in a museum back then, or
Mm.
wasn't the museum yet?
It must have been the fisherman and the octopus mural. I think that's what it was. We were about to go to Sweden for Artscape afterwards, and we were chatting with you about about the museum. I think maybe.
I still remember the bar where we met. So I think we were having quite some drinks, I guess. Yeah.
There was a lot.
Yeah.
Upfest is always a messy one.
It's
gone of them days now. We're sensible.
Yeah, no, it was a lot of fun, and it was the start of our friendship and our connection, and
it was
the invite to come and paint at STRAAT. And then what I can remember from the story, but you can just like share your experiences of it, is that I showed you the canvas that you were going to paint when you arrived, and then you were like, we actually had some plan regarding what we wanted to paint while we were going to paint this canvas, but you wanted like a portrait canvas, right? That's my.
Was it to paint? Was that the one? Was that the one where I decided it was going to be you as an angel, as a cherub, because we decided that while we were wasted, that you looked exactly like a cherub, and for ages, like I couldn't even remember. I was like, I just referred to you as the cherub guy.
Right.
Oh, wasn't it Angel Boy?
Angel Boy.
Right.
That's it. Angel. Does she look like an angel? It's true. And we're still waiting for that
to paint that.
We were talking about doing a photo shoot. I had to come over to Manchester or something.
That's right. That's right. We're still waiting.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, we actually almost managed to get like a massive building in Antwerp.
Remember, yeah.
Like I think like 50, 60 meters high or whatever, and just
Oh
paint
my
it
God.
there.
Yeah, that would have been amazing. That would have been so good.
Oh,
Your head would have been about 10 meters. Big angel head.
oh my God, that would have been insane.
Battling.
Yeah, well, I mentioned it to my friend again not so long ago, but like due to COVID and whatever, all the subsidies are gone. So like the money to create
Yeah.
more street art in Antwerp is sort of like running out.
Mm.
But we can think of another way anyway. But do you remember the story behind this one?
We were trying to, we were having a bit of a quick message about this just to see if we could remember between the two of us, because there's been a lot of action, lots of things happened since then. But I think we've got it down, potentially. So
it's going to be a really
so
cheery one, obviously, because it's Nomad Clan. You know, it's such a happy ending.
well, at the
Everybody
time,
dies.
we still kind of do this. This is like the original angle was basically we did some like looking into folklore again. So we get really interested in mythology and folklore from each area that we go to. And at this time, that seemed to be the starting point every time we did something. So we started with this story of a siren that was like caught up in a fisherman's net. There's obviously, yeah, there we are. Because obviously you've got a lot of docks and fishing and the history and heritage of that, and this is a folklore that is specific, very specific to Amsterdam itself. And she gets caught up in this fisherman's net, and at some point I'm going to pass the baton, but
That's a bit
and she's like really annoyed because she's like, the fisherman's really greedy and he just keeps going and taking from the sea or whatever, and taking all the fish, and she kind of warns him because he's refusing to let her go as well, which is obviously one of those things I'm sure she wasn't very happy about. So she's like, right, you know, you're not listening to my warnings, you're not listening to me, I'm gonna create like some next level carnage. And the 3 X's of, you know, the Amsterdam 3 X's thing, something to do with plague, flooding, and what's the other one?
Famine.
And these are like actual historical events that happened that, you know, changed Amsterdam for good. But she basically warned of this flood, this great flood that was going to come and like, you know, really destroy the area. And there was a huge flood, historically speaking. But yeah, so that's basically what the story's about. So she's like there as this siren sort of warning of all these future things. And we were sort of kind of thinking at the time about the environmental issues of stuff like overfishing, flooding, blah, 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 climate change. So it's the sort of things that we were always looking at apocalypses because we're cheery folk like that.
Nice one.
So,
yeah.
So it's just a little bit of a story, a whimsical, slightly dark story, but it's kind of cool because it is grounded in history, and that's kind of that. I like that blurring of lines between, you know, historical events that are recorded and then these like crazy epic narratives that could be like films. So we kind of always channel that shit, I guess, when we're doing stuff.
So because what was the I don't, well, this of course has a connection with Amsterdam, with the Netherlands. How important is the environment, the location where you paint in the story that you're telling?
So
is there always a connection, or is it
quite
just
often the majority of our pieces do have a link. I think we've always been really aware that when we put these pieces of artwork up, we get to walk away. You know, the people who live in these towns and these places that we put this stuff, they have to live with this like forever. And so if we can have it resonate with these people and like, you know, create conversations or, you know, have something in common with them, tell a story about the place, then we will do. You know, if we find something we want to paint about. And it's a nice starting point as well. And it's often because we do the research before we go somewhere. It's quite nice to know a bit about the place that you're going to. You know, sorry, my cat is really torturing me. It's gonna knock my phone over. I know it.
Yeah, we didn't see anything.
But yeah, it's, you know, we get to research the place that we go in, so we know a little bit more about the place, and we feel like we're leaving something, you know, like we're adding to part of the place's story also. You know, it's not just some randomness. Like,
No.
I think also just to add a little tweak to that too. Part of the beauty of Nomad Clan was like it was gonna be a vessel or a ship that allowed us to go and explore all these different places, right? Because you know, a lot of the lifestyle of a street artist is travel, right? It is nomadic by nature, hence the name. And even before we were getting outside of the country per se to paint, every place that we went in the UK, for example, we were putting ourselves into that environment, into that culture, really reflecting. And I think when you work on the streets, you can't help but take something of that place with you, you know, whether it's your experience. You experience so much weird shit when you're painting on the streets anyway, and it's like it's part of that package. So for us, it's something whereby by pure coincidence on some level we are inspired by, you know, where we're going. And we still do, like when we're going somewhere new, we're like, where is it, and you know, like you get on Wiki and you're googling stuff and you want to know about these places, because to me it's an opportunity to experience somewhere that we've never experienced before. And it's like, well, it's a bit like going on holiday but not, you know. So you want to learn about it, and then when you're there you become more and more influenced by the place and by the culture and by what's going on. So it just seemed to make sense, and it always has. And I think it's difficult for us to do stuff without doing that, because it feels like not throwaway, but it just feels like we're not being grateful for the experience in the same way that we are when we're connecting like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Not that weird.
Yeah, no, it's beautiful. I think it's one of the most important purposes of being a street artist, to find that experience and to give something to a neighborhood or to I don't know, to a culture or to the people that are living there.
Yeah.
And find that collaboration between them and you guys and your art that you make, and make it one big beautiful collaboration.
Totally.
exactly.
Right? Looking back at all the walls and the Nomad Clan and traveling around, what was the, I'm not sure, like the biggest highlight, or maybe two things, I don't know, like the biggest disaster and the biggest highlight. Maybe that's both caught in painting in Liverpool, that could be, but I don't know.
Liverpool was probably, but do you know what? We've got a good story out of it, and that's all that matters, isn't it? And we got a big mural that kind of opened doors for us. So at the same time as being the worst, it was probably the best. It gave us a taste of what we could do and where we wanted to go.
Yeah.
Every wall has its like moments of being the best thing you're doing, you know. And every wall has its moments of being the worst idea you've ever had. Like when you're having that breakdown and going, "What the fuck am I doing?" Like, but like, I think like it's really hard to say what my ultimate favorite project is, because it changes all the time, and like you slowly you forget all of the horrible experiences you've had, and you remember all the good ones, you know. So each project generally, and we always try as well, don't we, to like better, like push ourselves every mural we do. So like, I mean, it needs a bit of a simmering after we've painted it for us to like it, because I think, doesn't it? Like you don't instantly go, I love that mural. Usually it's kind of like down the line you kind of think, oh, actually, yeah. But because we're always trying to push ourselves and better ourselves, and you know, do something different or come at something from a new angle, or I don't know.
Yeah.
It really depends for me, because I feel like sometimes we'll paint a mural and it will be like a standout, like technically, conceptually, composition, that, you know, it flows out and it feels like, oh my God, this was just great, you know, and that's wonderful. And it sits there being that. But sometimes it's the impact, for me, it's the impact that it has on the people that are receiving it that makes it memorable or makes it successful. And so there's been times when, like, I've walked away from a mural and I've been like, God, oh my God, like, there's so many things I could have changed about that, like, what's going on with that bit there. And then we've had an interaction with somebody who's literally been, like, moved and, like, emotional and, like, just so great. And you, in that moment, it's literally about that. It's about that connection. And you feel like you've done something that's really either or like educated somebody or altered an idea or just open dialogue. And like for me, it's like, okay, those can be really successful, and it's separating your ego off and going, well, do you know what? It might not be something that, like, I'm like, oh wow, look at this thing that we did, but like actually don't look at this bit and don't look at this bit because I don't like it. It's more like we had these like incredible experiences. And to be honest, it's more and more like a good blend of those two things, you know, because we always want to give it our all. You can't always control certain elements like weather or really bad planning or really bad, like, you know, scaffolding thing that's not working properly or whatever it might be, or the paint didn't arrive, so you've only had 2 days to paint it instead of 5, you know. And you can't always control these things, but we can always give it our all. And so even when things aren't that perfect, you know, it's like letting go of that perfectionism and recognizing what good things have come from it and what good things are there of it. So it's like that, isn't it? It's like a bit of a tussle. You never know which way it's going to go, but it's all pleasurable on some level.
Yeah, I can imagine, like, if you get good responses from the neighborhood, it's a success by itself anyway. And it's just like your inner you that is telling you like it can be better or whatever, that is driving you to become better anyway.
That's true.
Over time. And that will probably be always be the case. For you too as Nomad Clan, to just become better and find new ways of showing your art. Is there anything you can share about like the near future, like anything exciting that you already can share with us?
We've got some big projects coming up quite soon. Like, we're kind of going back to old Nomad Clan ways, aren't we? Of like non-stop, back-to-back, home for a day, off again type stuff.
Kind of, with a bit more balance and a bit more adulting. I think we've done it this time where we've paid attention to the schedule somewhat, so we're not quite as flying from one country to another, because that after a while gets a bit nuts. Adjusting and not giving yourself a day off in between, for example, aside from sitting on a plane. But I think like now we're a bit more considerate, you know, like Hayley's an auntie and she's got loads of like kids and stuff, and then we've all got things to consider, about things that we need in our lives to keep us sane, sort of vibe. We've kind of planned it somewhat, but the things that we're taking on, we're maybe being a bit more selective about, and we've been spending a lot of this winter in the planning stages, to be honest. As much as we've had time to explore in our studios and do things, you know, to keep that creative stuff topped up, we've also been really kind of homing in on the projects that we've got, and the ones that we do have been kind of a long time in the making, which means that it's been a lot of like, is it, isn't it, is it, isn't it stuff going on, and like just making sure things are all ready to roll. But we've got some exciting big walls this year, and that's good, because, you know, that's what we do.
No, perfect. So a little bit less traveling, so it's going to become like not so much Nomad Clan in the future.
It's not as nomadic.
No. I think we'll go as hard as we probably normally do when we're there, but then we'll have some recovery time in between, which is sort of the way, isn't it? Like, it is traveling, and a lot of it's overseas, which is nice, and it's places that we haven't painted before. Yeah. So
it's just my bad way of Dutch humor. So
it's just class.
so exciting. So where So where can people see you paint, like in the near future? Anything you can already share with us?
Yes, I think we can share the next one we've got, which is Dusseldorf. That's all booked and ready and ready. So that's cool. We've never painted Dusseldorf before. We love Germany, but
I don't
so we can
think we
definitely
can say
share that.
anything else.
Ukraine?
Sorry?
I don't think we can say
We can't
any of the others.
say anything else. We have
No.
got some real exciting biggies after that, but again, like also, this 2023 has been the year of curses for things. So we're just kind of being very sensible now and not being like, oh yeah, like check us out, we're doing all this, and then just watch it.
Okay, let's not jinx it then.
No.
We will see where you will be painting, and we'll of course follow you with a lot of love and interest. Yeah, I mean,
Amsterdam, maybe we'd come and do
Amsterdam.
it. It's been a while.
Yeah.
You can.
And we do the Angel Boy.
We'll find a place.
Yeah,
Maybe
please,
we'll find
please
a place.
do.
I'm still not.
I'll
so
live for
sure.
that mural.
Right. Yeah, it was very exciting to just catch up. I hope everybody at home also really liked it. Is there still something that I forgot to ask you to, or
I don't
know,
think
like
so. I don't think so.
Just thanks for
just
having us. We
my
appreciate you
yeah,
taking the time to talk to us.
my face was covering the piece most of the time, so let me just let me just try to.
It's all about you,
It's
innit, Drew?
For God's sake.
always.
He's just trying to get his face on a mural, that's all it is.
Yeah. Just you will not pay me on a canvas. I will just sit in front of it. Yeah. So that's the one. It's actually funny because like for a lot of Dutch people, the man to the left looks like a Dutch singer. So
Amazing.
what you often hear is like, is this Waylon, which is a Dutch singer, but it's not, unless you know.
This sort of shit
Show me
always
like
happens.
yeah,
We drowned a
yeah.
famous Dutch singer in a painting.
Right. That was just your. I
Wow.
was actually going to check, but the artist left. We have a new gallery show starting this Saturday. It's called Indigenous Americans with
Oh, wow.
4 Indigenous Americans. There you
Amazing.
go. That one is going to the artist started today or arrived today. Yeah, and I'm very much looking forward to welcome you both here in Amsterdam.
Yes.
To paint another one, or just to show you the beauty of the museum here at STRAAT. Thanks for doing the STRAAT talks with me. It's always exciting to catch up with the two of you. I wish you a lot of luck in 2023. We will not jinx anything. Jay, it went very well with the connection. You didn't go away.
Yeah.
We
I was
just
just
had a proper talk.
building up suspense in the beginning. You know, it's
Right.
one of them.
Perfect. Well, you did, and you managed to stay in the talk for an hour. So once again, thank you so much, and we'll catch along somewhere along the way. We'll see each other.
Nice
Of course.
one,
Thanks for
man.
having us.
Take
It's
care.
been amazing. Thank
Have
you.
a good day.
Of course.
Thank you, everyone,
everybody.
for joining.
Bye bye.
Bye.
Bye.